So inshallah, take your mute off.
Okay, yes, I can hear you. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, we're just getting in. We're waiting a few moments. Alhamdulillah, let's get on into things. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم صلاة كاملة تامة نامة جليلة مقبولة شاملة بدوام مقلة مضاعفة بلا بلا فلا 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 ما في من الله مروبة في نفسها على سر كل في سر كل بسر كل بسر أمور القرآن بسر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وقال تعالى في القرآن الكريم ولكل وجهة هو موليها فاستبقوا الخيرات أينما تكونوا يأتي بكم الله جميعا إن الله على كل شيء قدير. أما بعد. So alhamdulillah, we have our dear Ummi, our Shaykh, our Ustaza, our Wasidata, our professor, our doctor, and our connection to me in many things, especially a connection for me in the Turuq and the beauty of the light of Shaykh Hassan Cisse. She instructed me to open with these ayahs, or with this particular ayah, which in meaning is to each is a goal to which Allah turns them, then strive together as if in a race towards all that is good. Wheresoever you are, Allah will bring you together, for Allah has power over all things. So, Ummi, first of all, I'll let the cat out the bag. Many people don't know how beloved Quran is to Dr. Karimah. And she's hands down holding down some Quran recitations, and she was an inspiration for me to continue reading. Ummi, I'd like to ask you truthfully, how many Jews do you recite a day?
Inshallah. Well, actually, it's really whatever Allah, gives me the strength to do. I have, by Allah's mercy, we tried to develop a habit of reading Quran every day, trying to do at least a juice a day, one juice a day, at least one juice a day.
Alhamdulillah. And many of us may not realize that Shaykh Tijani, he advised all of his true students and talibs and things that we should strive for, that they should recite his vein or 2 hizb a day or a juice a day. Remember when we were in Morocco right after Fajr and they're doing a dhikr, they would recite his, and in the evening, so alhamdulillah, for those of the Sabiqun who are forthwith and forthright and performing the duties of the student of the path of Tijaniya. And thank you, Ummi. And we know you're reciting a little more. We thank you for you and all the recitations, especially for our dear beloved Shaykh Hassan Cisse, and it's the least that we should do. And it's a reminder for all of us to do more. So our dear Ummi, our sister, our mother, Hajj Dr. Karimah Joseph, was born in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1949. She migrated with her family to Detroit in 1956. She was raised in the AME church, and she was married to Imam Salim in 1968. They were introduced to Islam in 1969 by a brother named Sadiq Bey, and formerly took Shahada from Abdul Jalil Bey. And they heard of Sheikh Ibrahim for the first time in the early 1970s from Imam Haji Abdul Hakim who met some of his murids while making Hajj. Sometime later in the early 1970s, they again heard stories of Medina Ba, Sheikh Hassan Cisse, and Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. This time from Brother Sheikh Bilal Muhammad, who traveled to Medina with his father in the early 1970s. Imam Salim and Haji Karimah met Sheikh Hassan in 1976 in Detroit and formally took Tariqa in the mid-1980s. Alhamdulillah, Omi, and with this illustrious beauty with the connection of with the Sheikh, you also went to school and became a doctor. I would like to ask you, could you tell us a little bit about the legendary community that they speak of, the early community, Masjid Salam, from which all of you all came from? And a little bit about our dear elder brother Sadiq Bey and also Abdul Jalil Bey.
Yes, well, in our early community in Detroit, when we took Shahada, Shahada with the Bey family. There was a group of brothers who were musicians, artists, mostly coming out of a nationalist background. And they were also involved in activism within the community. And we met
SubhanAllah. Allahumma salli ala
to
Sayyidina
the
Muhammad.
Association of Black Students at Wayne State.
Omi Karima.
Being there, we yes. Mm-hmm.
Doctor,
Yes.
you went out for a second. Could you
I'm sorry.
Okay, it went out for a second. I'm sorry about that.
Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as I was saying, we met Brother Sadiq through the Association of Black Students, Brother Sadiq and Brother Abdul Malik, Farooq Abdul Malik, and Imam Salim at the time was in the military. But when he met them, they immediately clicked because they were, just on the same page with everything, music, jazz, art. They were all artists. So when we were introduced, it was kind of a good segue into Islam from what we were already doing. The original members of Jamaat al-Salam, our elders were kind of in their mid to late 20s. Most of us were in our late teens, early 20s. I noticed Imam Hassan had mentioned Aki Yusuf, which everybody in Detroit called him that. All the kids called him Aki Yusuf. When he took Shahada, he was 16 years old. He was our first wakil of our masjid. But at any rate, the original brothers who set the community up were Abdul Jalil Bey, Farooq Bey, Sadiq Bey, Haji Abdul Hakim, and Imam Salim. I think that was pretty much the core. And the reason they had the name the Bey tribe was because they had met some Moorish Science brothers, even though they were never in the Moorish Science community. And at that time in Detroit, Moorish Science was very big, but they had split into Sunni Islam, and some were still under the Moorish Science. And there were the Beys and the Els. So they gave them the name the Bey tribe, which stuck. And they chose the name Jamaat al-Salam. And from there, we, got our first masjid on Hamilton. And within the first year, we had established our 5 pillars for the community. Imam Haji Abdul Hakim was, I believe, the first one in the community to make Hajj. And there was another brother, Hatem, who made Hajj either that same year or shortly after that. But Haji Abdul Hakim was the first one. So yes, that's the way our community got started that way. And our first imam was Abdul Jalil Bey, and then Haji Abdul.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I heard about at those times, especially when Imam Haji Abdul Hakim came. I remember many of the lessons that he gave us and question and answers and things. They said he came around at a time that helped to solidify the salat and things at the
Yes,
masajid.
absolutely. Absolutely, because during that time, we did not have any, like now we have all these masjids, we have elders, we have multiple communities, we have dawah centers and all. We didn't have that. So we were basically learning Islam on our own. And we did not even know how to make salat correctly when we first became Muslim. We just knew we were Muslim. And Imam Salim and I'll kind of go back a little bit. Our story is similar to Hajjat Shaki and Papa Taha. We decided we were Muslim. Or after Sadiq introduced us to Islam, we just made the decision that we were Muslim. And we thought we were Muslim. Sadiq gave me the name Karimah, and Imam Salim took his name, and we just decided that we were Muslim, and that's what we were. And we went about searching for books. Sadiq and the other brothers had gone to a camp in Belleville. They ran a camp up there for children, and so we lost track of them for some months. But we decided that we were Muslim, and I started, dressing as a Muslim, and Imam Salim was wearing dashikis and all of this. We thought that was what we should do. And we went into a bookstore that he used to frequent and found an Arabic Quran, dusty, sitting on a stack on the floor. And so that was our first Quran. And then later on, he found I believe it was a Muhammad Ali Quran, was our first English Quran. But we decided we were Muslim. So our story was very similar. We didn't know that we had to take Shahada. So we just decided we were Muslim. And when finally we did get back in touch with Sadiq, and he invited us over to the house where all the brothers usually were, at Brother Farouk and Sister Akida's house. And there we met them, and we met Abdul Jalil. And Abdul Jalil came and gave us Shahada. They told us we needed to take Shahada. That's when we found out we needed to take Shahada.
Alhamdulillah.
So we didn't really know, and we did not know how to make. They didn't know how to make salat correctly. They were still learning. Haji Abdul Hakim was coming from, I believe, Cleveland, where he was in the Dar. He was in Dar al-Islam. So he was, very familiar and very solid with his practice of Islam. So that was part of the help. That was part of what helped to solidify that for us. Also, there was Imam Mubarak, and that was a community that Sister Aisha, Sister Nisa, Sister Zainab, they all came out of that community. He happened to be walking by the house one day and saw the brothers on the porch, started talking, found out they were Muslims, started talking to them, started telling them about hadith and shura and all these things. So that combined, and eventually Imam Mubarak merged his community into ours because we had a large community. So between Haji Abdul Hakim for sure and Imam Mubarak, that kind of solidified it. And kind of a side story, Imam Salim was taking some classes in Ann Arbor, and there he found a floor there with just nothing but Islamic books, but it was totally neglected. There was literally dust on the chairs and the tables, and cobwebs between the bookshelves. When you walked down between the bookshelves, you had to knock cobwebs out of the way. And they had very old Islamic books. I mean, some of the pages, if you open, they would break apart. So at some point, we used to call it liberation. So those books were liberated, and the brothers studied from those books. And so that they did that. And We went from not really knowing how to make salat correctly, not knowing, I remember one sister asked when the brothers were giving us a class, well, should you fast when you're on your period? And his answer was, well, since you can't make salat on your period, you probably should not fast on your period. So that was we did not know. And we didn't know, we said, oh, we'll make Juma at night. We made Juma at night. We made, I just took a ghusl. I'm going to make me some rakats, some 10 rakats. So we really didn't know. But we went from that state to complete it, having a masjid, having a shura, having an imam, completing all of our 5 pillars by the end of the first year of our community. And that was only by Allah's mercy. We did not see, by the time we saw our first foreigners that came, they were from the Tabligh Jamaat, and they came and they were just stunned. They kept asking, but who taught you? But who taught you? And the brothers would say, Allah taught us. And one brother cried and he said, you are the flowers of Allah, because Allah chose you, like he chose the Sahabi.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we were born into Islam, but Allah chose you. And that's the first time we had heard that kind of encouragement. But so that's the way we got started. The brothers started learning Arabic from a Palestinian Christian who had a store down the street from our first masjid. That was the first Arabic classes that they had. Mm-hmm.
So alhamdulillah, I mean, this rich history here. Also, with that history, and also for your love for Quran, I had to ask you, why out of all ayats did this particular ayat come to mind in Surah Baqarah 148 come to mind with you, and why did you want it? Why did Allah put it upon your heart for it to be recited? What did you see in it for us?
Well, that ayat is very, very dear to me, because Allah is telling you there that he's put something inside of you along with the fitra. He has put something inside of you that he turns you to a good goal in life. Everybody, all of us. And he says, so strive together as in a race in all good things. And surely Allah will bring you together wherever you are. That is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to, we're not competing with each other in a negative way. It's in a righteous way. We're not, if I see you, doing wonderful works for Allah, I may not be able to do what you do, but I can do my little part. I can do something, because Allah has already given me that goal. He's put it inside of me. So if Allah is inspiring you to do something good, do it. Do it right there. Don't let Shaitan whisper to you, you can't do this. Oh, that's too hard. No, don't do that. Why would you give these people this money? You could keep it. You should save it. You might need it. Allah said, strive together in all good works. All good works. So it's so beautiful, especially when for our subject of talking about being students of Shaykh Hassan and doing ibadah for our Shaykh. And think about all of the wonderful people that have come before us, and since we've been here and come after us, and all the wonderful work that they're doing, that Allah guided them to do and blessed them to be able to do ibadah for the Sheikhs to help Allah's creation. Just think about that. And Allah puts that in each individual human being. It's just a beautiful, beautiful ayah.
Alhamdulillah. For those who weren't present earlier, is in Surah Al-Baqarah, the 148th ayah. وَلِكُلِّ وِجْهَةٌ هُوَ مُوَلِّيهَا فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ أَيْنَمَا تَكُونُوا يَأْتِي بِكُمُ اللَّهُ جَمِيعًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And on that note, and we know that surely Allah has power and has power over all things. Alhamdulillah, you've had a long, beautiful history with the Tariqa. Many people have heard of them, but I'd like you to tell me of your knowledge of them and meeting with them, of Sheikh Bilal Muhammad and his father Farouk, who were the earliest to go to Senegal at that time.
Mhm.
And I'd also remind me of a time where Sheikh
Mhm.
Tijani spoke about him or say something about him.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, being the sisters that, in our community, most of the sisters, we were mostly, moms taking care of our children, and the brothers were doing their thing. They were, traveling and selling and studying and doing all these things. And we had our taleems at home, but some of the few brothers that I knew were the original brothers. And one of those brothers was Brother Bilal, come by occasionally, and Imam Salim and he were very good friends. And I just remember when we lived we lived on Petoskey. We lived in a four family flat, I guess you would call it. And one of the apartments was used as a mosque, where after we moved from Hamilton and Grand River, and then we had just up there, we had one of the apartments, and we used to make Juma there and make Salat there and what have you. And so he came. I remember he and his father were up there, and they were just beaming, and he was very happy. And he was talking to Imam Salim and one of the other brothers about Senegal and Sheikh Ibrahim and Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse. And oh, he just couldn't say enough about it. His father didn't say very much at the time. His name was Brother Farouk, but wasn't at the time. He wasn't Muslim, but he took Shahada after that. And from my understanding, Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse loved him because here was an American elder who wasn't even Muslim, who traveled to Senegal. And you know how it was when you first came. Well, you can imagine how it was in the early 70s. Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse was the one who had a bathroom, and probably the papas, um, a regular, American style bathroom. So it was, difficult then, but here this man came and he was not even Muslim. So Sheikh Said Ali Cisse really respected him a lot. And he eventually did take Shahada. And Sheikh Bilal had received, he was taught by Sheikh Said Ali Cisse. He received ijazah from him, as well, along with Imam Said and Hajj Karimah. And now there's a gap because I'm not sure when he met Shaykh Hassan. I think it may have been that time when he was there. So I don't know I don't know his story from right. And Sheikh Bilal was known in different communities in New York and Chicago. And I believe he did live in Chicago for a while. And so Sheikh Khalil may be able to fill you in on some of the things because I really don't know. I did not interact with brothers, only the brothers that I knew from the beginning that, our children grew up together and all of that. But yes, Sheikh Bilal, and when he came, was gay, introduced, I think, yes. I think he was one I know that gave Imam Salim, and also he had invited the brothers to Chicago to meet Sheikh Hassan. He was speaking at Northwestern University, and Brother Mahmoud had been in the Tariqa for a while. Sheikh Ahmed Tijani, Haji Abdul Hakim, Fareed. Can you turn the fan down, please? So anyway, they all traveled. Imam Salim was one of the, he took Tariq in 85. The other brothers had taken kind of earlier in the 80s. But in 85, they traveled to Chicago at the invitation of Sheikh Bilal to meet Shaykh Hassan. And I wanted to take Tariqa when Imam Salim did, but he told me to wait for Shaykh Hassan because he was going to come back to Detroit. So when Shaykh Hassan came, he gave Tariqa to myself and several other people, and the people who already had Tariqa rule.
Alhamdulillah. Also, with your years of Karimah and your blessing, could you tell us a little about our dear sister,
And you asked
Zakia?
me another question about Bilal. No. Oh, what? Oh, you had asked me about Imam Sheikh. What he said was that that all the people from everywhere, like Nigeria, Ghana, Mauritania, they all know Morocco. They always can tell you who was the first one to come from their country to Medina Bay. So he said, we should tell our children that the first one from America was Sheikh Bilal and his father. He said, because your children should know that the first one to come from America to Medina was Sheikh Bilal when he was from Detroit. He also was the first one to leave his child, his son who was there, he left there. And with Sheikh Said. So yes, so that was that's the extent of what I can tell you about Sheikh Bilal. He's over the years he did a lot of good work for Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, and I was just asking you, well, you know, in your years of Khidmah, I've always seen you always do the work. And we have many beloved sisters, and it seems like the major works, especially to get things together with Ishaki, with her paperwork, Dr. Khadija, Sister Aisha Jeffries, yourself, and everything. Alhamdulillah, it's a testament to the blessing of a community that share the responsibility with the men and the women. One of those women who did great works, I'd like to have you remind us and tell her about our dear sister Zakia. Was it Lana Madiun?
Yes, Zakia Mariam.
From Memphis.
She's the mother of, excuse me. She's the mother of Abdurrahman Ibn. We call them Ibn. But yes, Sister Zakia, the first year I came to Senegal in 1989, I found there Hajja Karimah, the mother of the Hafizes, and Sister Ashaki, and Sister Zakia. And Sister Zakia is a very soft-spoken person, but she did big works. Sister Zakia was the type of person that if you had concern about something, for instance, I'll give you one instance for what she did for the city of Memphis. She was with some sisters and they were just lamenting over the poor performance of the children, their reading performance for the elementary schools. And Sister Zakia would always want to know, well, what can we do about it? What can we do about it? So they talked to some teachers, see what they needed. And Sister Zakia was the type of person that would go directly to the head of whatever. So she made an appointment with the head of the Department of Education for the state of Tennessee and went and talked to them. It changed, and they changed the curriculum in the elementary schools in Memphis. All the students, all the elementary students knew about Shaykh Hassan and Medina and the students there because Sister Zakia used to do story time, her and Sister Shaista in the schools, and they used to tell stories about Africa and they talked about Shaykh Hassan and showed the kids pictures. They knew who Shaykh Hassan was. But I just want to say, a few things about what she did and her level of the humbleness with which she did it. First of all, she was in Memphis and her family was the only Tijani family. She was the only one, her and her son were the only Tijani. She was part of War Queens community. She wrote for the newsletter. She did work for her community there. But when she did work for Shaykh Hassan, I'll give you some things that she did. When Shaykh Hassan asked her to get to form a sister city alliance with Kaolack, for Memphis and Kaolack, the people in Memphis didn't even know what it was. The Common Council didn't even know what it was. And there was one Muslim brother on the council who had explained to them what that was. So she told me, she said, you know, Dr. Karimah, when Shaykh Hassan asked me that, and I said, all right, Sheikh, she was one who always said, we hear and we obey. She didn't question. She said, and when I got off the phone, I said, oh Allah, how am I going to do this? I don't know anything about Sister City. And she said, oh, I thought about Sister Shaki. And I know she would know. And so she said she called Sister Shaki, and that's a common theme. All of us used to call Sister Shaki. She was like the Grand Central for everybody.
Wallahi, wallahi. Mm-hmm.
And she was so freely giving information, free helping you, you know, everything was all right for whatever Sheikh wanted to do. So she helped her, she sent her the paperwork, she was able to get the sister city. So that was the first sister city and that Memphis had, and also for Kaolack. So there was a sister city formed, and when they had, one of her friends told me at her janazah, when people were talking about all the wonderful things she did, when they had the big event to announce the sister city, and they had all the politicians, all of the, you know, people in the corporation, people there, they were all at the desk. And she was standing at the back door with the most beautiful smile on her face, not in front of the camera. Her name was not mentioned. That was her. When Shaykh Hassan first went to Memphis, her community hosted, Wharf Dean's community hosted him. There was, they had a prayer breakfast. Where they sent letters all over Tennessee, where she sent letters to all these Muslim communities. And over 200 people showed up for prayer breakfast. She was able to get through hotel rooms. There was an Arab brother that called her and said, a Muslim sheikh, and she said yes. So what hospital is he? I mean, what hotel is he going to be in? So she told him, and he said, well, what kind of rooms does he have? So she told him, and he said, it's not good enough. He rented the whole floor for Shaykh Hassan. This is Johnny. And when Shaykh Hassan, he was harassed at the airport, he and his entourage. So her community, the working community, did a letter writing campaign. And in that letter, basically, they sent it all over Tennessee for all of the Muslim communities to send it to the state. And in that letter, it said that it talked about how they had disrespected Shaykh Hassan. And they said, he is our sheikh. He is the equivalent of the Pope for us. After that, they used to wave Shaykh Hassan. There were so many things with her. She set up a student exchange program between Senegal and Memphis. Hassan and Chief from Ghana, multi-million-dollar trade program between Memphis and Ghana. She recruited the doctors when we had the big clinic back of, I don't know, was Dr. Khadija would know, it's that the year that was.
That was preceding the clinic. Mm-hmm.
It was before they built the clinic at the school.
Yeah, we used to have to get all the doctors.
Doctors, nurses, medication, all of that, and coordinated that with Dr. Khadija to bring all those people there. So many things. And I was with her right before she passed, and she said, you know, Dr. Karimah, I just want to work for Allah until I die. And the next day, she said, get my planner from over there for me. And she had me calling all these people so she could talk to them about a project that she had started with them to raise money for the African American Islamic Institute. That was a few days before she passed. And the same day she spoke to Shaykh Hassan and she told him she wanted to come to synagogue. He spoke very beautifully to her and made dua for her. He said, we're waiting for you. And right after she hung up with Shaykh Hassan, Imam Muardin called her. And she was so stunned. She said, who, little old me? He wants to talk to little old me. And he came and he said beautiful words to her. He made dua for her and thanked her for all her service for the community. If you talk to 10 people at her janazah, they all had a different tale to tell about all the work she had done. And this is someone that everybody doesn't know her name.
Mm-hmm.
The people who knew her. But I would say that about all the people that you mentioned, Dr. Khadija, Sister Shaki, Sister Aisha Jeffries, all these people, the things that you know about them and you've seen all these interviews, you've heard about them, that's only scratching the surface. All of these people who have worked anonymously or in the open or where people know their names, what you know about what they did is very, very small compared to what they've done. All that, the rest of that is with Allah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, thank you for that beautiful reminder. And was she the first one to get he got the key to the city?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Shaykh Hassan got the key to the city from Memphis, yes.
Also, in alhamdulillah, many of the sisters that I have learned one and on the path, could you please give us a few words about our dear sister Anisa?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Sister Anisa, she was absolutely just straightforward on the deen.
Wallahi.
She was on the Quran and Sunnah, and she would remind you of that. And when you talk about work, this is what we talk about. It's like, you may not be the one who traveling with Shet. You may not be the one who's running for Shet, but you can take care of your. And she gave away food from a food pantry. I personally was in the car with her one day. She put over 200 miles on her car, going shopping for sisters, dropping stuff off, taking this one diapers, gotta take milk over here. Oh, this sister needs to go over here. Oh, this person's, her mother is sick. I want to go check on her. She put over 200 miles on her car. This was Sister Nisa. A lot. Always reminding you of the Sunnah. This is Sister Nisa and her daughters, her children, you can see the results. Beautiful children, beautiful grandchildren.
And for those who may not know of the Sister Nisa, she is the mother of Sakina.
Beautiful family, yes.
Sakina and Amina and Mansour. Yeah, I think it was kind of breaking up. While segueing into that, and me.
And I would like to say something too about Sister Rakib.
Okay.
I'm losing you, Kafani.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it was going out over there too. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, go on. Bismillah. You said you wanted to mention something?
No, I was going to say, I just wanted to mention a little bit about Sister. Yes, about Sister Rakib Salam.
Rakib Salam, yes. Alhamdulillah, please do.
Yes, she used to do, she was married to Brother Mahmoud Salam, who was the Muqaddam in Detroit at the time. And their house was a house that Shaykh Hassan came to every time he came. And she was the one who showed me how to do khidmah with grace and beautiful idab. She's the one who told me, I said, I was so surprised at how she would keep her composure, because everybody that came to the house that she see Sheikh did not have the best event. And I was so just amazed at her composure. And she said, well, you know, Karimah, when the Sheikhs are around, when you're doing work for them, they put you in another state. So that doesn't even bother you.
That's true.
MashaAllah. Have we not seen that? Is it not true?
Wallahi, wallahi.
MashaAllah.
And alhamdulillah, with the Middle Mu'mineen of our mother, someone that you had contact with, your daughter and your son had personal contact with, could you give us a few words about the attributes of our dear mother, Ya Sa'adatu?
Oh, absolutely. Where can I begin? Ya Sa'adatu, I would say that she is the epitome of what it means to be a good Muslim, a good Muslim wife, a good Muslim mother, a good student for the Sheikh. She is so much about Ya Sa'adatu. I'll put it this way. Sheikh Hassan told me these things. He said, well, you know, Ya Sa'adatu always did the most for Sheikh's guests. You know that. Shaykh Hassan told me, he said, you know, we wanted to send her to school to be a doctor. And she said, no, I'm the wife of the Sheikh.
SubhanAllah.
I'm here to take care of you. She had read almost multiple languages. Maybe I get Hassan called me to his room and just talked about the good things about her. I think he must have known that I was concerned about him. After she passed, I was concerned. And he told me, he said, you know, that's when he said he wanted her to be a doctor. And he said, and you know, from that she grew up in palaces and embassies, and she chose to live here, back here. Now, they had wonderful quarters in the back, but you know, nothing compared to palaces and embassies. She chose to live there. That's what he said. And he said, and from the first meal that she made for him, and he said, until the Last Supper, and surely the Last Supper was the best, she added her own money. And you know what that means? Because you know the women, I don't know, for those who don't know, day for the food for the day, it's called day pass. And she would add her own money to make sure that everything was good for Sheikh's guests. This is what Sheikh told me. And when she passed, Shaykh Hassan said there was so much grief that it rained when there should have been no rain. This was Ya Sa'adatu. Ya Sa'adatu was very learned. She was actually, I don't know, she spoke English very well, and she was just such a good friend to the Americans. She was like a mother to the American girls, and she was our sister. It's so much to be said about Ya Sa'adatu. She said she traveled with Sheikh once, and they were gone for, I guess, a couple of months. And she said to Ya Sa'adatu told him, said, you have to leave this one here. You have to have somebody to run your house. He said, leave this one here. She said, don't ever say you don't want to be in Medina. Allah make you want to come back so bad you'll swim across the ocean. That she's our mother, and we, you know, remember her fondly and pray for her, and you know, and we pray to Allah that we're going to be with her and see her again, inshallah.
Ameen. So, Umi, on that note, and we were together, during those trying times, especially, I remember when Shaykh Hassan was saying in replication of the year of sorrow, of him using his uncle and losing his beloved wife, Khadija. I remember Shaykh Hassan using this misal as an example. that time when we were there, and we remember in Papa Hadi, they were bringing him in. And then that early morning, with the passing of our dear Nasaratu, could you tell us about what you had to assist Sheikh Hassan with, and also the attributes of Sheikh Hassan on that day?
Yes. Yes, we had gone to Fajr with Sheikh. And Imam Salim and I had come back, and we were in our room, you know, the little villa, the place in Sheikh's courtyard. And we were just doing our work, you know, after Fajr. And Hassan ran in and said, Sheikh Hassan wants you, Majah said, Sheikh Hassan told you to come. Yasaratu died. And Imam Salim and I both said, Yafatu died? He said, no, Yasaratu. So I went in to see Sheikh, and he, you know, had informed us. And we just asked, what could we do? And he said, well, help the people back there. The people in the back there. You know, the family was grieving. So my role mostly was helping as a doctor to help them to, you know, to get rest and to, you know, kind of help them with that, help them with their grief. And Sheikh did give them a prayer as well. Our Sheikh, our Sheikh that day, if you want to know who Shaykh Hassan is, that day, his beloved wife passed that morning, just totally unexpected. His uncle, who was his biggest supporter, passed a few days before. They were planning his janazah. He had grieving family members, people who were traveling to come for Papa Hadi's janazah, and got him and found out that Yasaratu had passed. Sheikh Hassan led Juma that day. There were so many people. You know, you were there. You, Abdul Aziz, I think Ajib, I don't know who else was there, had to fight their way in to get Sheikh into the masjid. Sheikh Hassan gave Juma, and his voice was crystal clear as a bell. His voice did not waver. He gave Juma, and his voice, I can't even describe it, it's so clear. Then he buried his uncle, and he buried his beloved wife. And he went home, and there were hundreds of people an hour coming in to give condolences. And he said, and he was getting phone calls from all over the world on multiple phones. He went and led Salatul Asr. He went and led Dhikr Juma. He led Maghrib, Wazifa, Isha. He did his job that day. You want to know who Shaykh Hassan is? In the midst of his grief, he did his job. He kept doing his work. He gave everything all the way up until his last breath to Shaykh Hassan.
Wallahi, I can even remember clearly at that time, Minna from Mauritania, radiallahu anhu, he just passed in the year. He was rushing in from Mauritania, and he rushed into the gate, and he was like, La ilaha illallah. He turned around, he was almost running out, and I ran to the gate. I knew that he was a support system, someone Sheikh Hassan loved. And I told him, Minna, come, you know, greet Sheikh. And he was like, wallahi, wallahi, wallahi. He said, I came here just out of my love for Sheikh Hadi. And then he said, my Sheikh, I get here, my Sheikh. And his wife asked, he said, well, lie, I'll never go there. He said, I can't go there right now. Shaykh Hassan was calling for him the whole of the day. And it wasn't until later on the day when I challenged him, I said, is Shaykh Hassan your Shaykh? He said, well, he is. I said, well, your Shaykh is calling for you. Would you disagree with him calling for you and not answering his call? And he laughed at me. He was like, funny, you've been here too long. You've been here too long. So he went in to see Shaykh. On that day, those are the times where we really saw the beauty of Shaykh Hassan.
Absolutely.
So also with that, Sayda, could you tell us a few of the attributes and your interaction with our dear mother of all mothers, Ya Fatima Zahra, Ya Fatima? Yes.
Oh, Ya Fatima. Oh, Ya Fatima. She, first of all, I'd like to say that Sister Shafi was the one who introduced me to Ya Fatima when I first came. She introduced me to Medina. But she took me to Ya Fatima. From the time I met Ya Fatima, she was so loving and accepting and warm, and you just felt like she was your own as soon as you met her. But just some of her attributes are just so many. You know, she was the oldest of Shaykh Ibrahim's children, and she completed her tarbiyah with Shaykh Ibrahim. What, at 15 or 16 years old? And she got married to Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse. We know the story about her walking the Cadillac and her feet bleeding and all these things. She used to sleep on the floor and let the guests sleep in her bed, in her room. This was when she was younger. She let people sleep. She took complete care of Sheikh Ibrahim and all his guests and Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse, whatever she had to do. She raised countless children. We were just laughing about that today. We don't know how many children that Sayda Ya Fatima raised. We don't know how many. It's just not even, I don't think we could count it. She took care of so many children. What did people do? They would give their daughters to Ya Fatima. She would make sure that they were taken care of, that they had a place to sleep, that they ate, that they had fabric, that they got hair done for the holidays and all this other stuff. How many people did she raise? How many people did she feed? You know, how many bowls were at Kirpa? Do you know how many pots were cooking?
A day.
If anybody that needed food, you take your bowl there, and when lunchtime comes, you go get your bowl. And you take your bowl back, and when dinner time comes, you go get your bowl. This was constant. That did not stop. And she would cook herself. And she's Ya Fatima, radiallahu anhu. She's the daughter of Sheikh Ibrahim, radiallahu anhu. She is the wife of Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse, radiallahu anhu. She's the mother of Shaykh Hassan Cisse, Inam Sheikh Tijani Cisse, Sheikh Mahi Cisse. Was she riding around in a limousine? Was people carrying her on something, carrying up on their shoulders? No. Where did you see Ya Fatima? Walking to the mosque, walking from the mosque in the tomb, walking down the street. Did you ever see her being treated like she was a queen? I mean, the queen's like your earthly queen. Everybody had wonderful respect for Ya Fatima, but she had no pretensions, very humble, just did her work, just served Allah. Sheikh Hassan said she was not Hafiz, but if you made a mistake, she could correct you. She was one of the first people I saw that I knew. She read Quran every day. I remember going out, you could probably know better, but I think she used to read after Asr every day, because I noticed whenever I would go over there after Asr, she would be in the courtyard reading Quran. And she used to read the whole Quran through every 7 days on the Sunnah Sheikh Ibrahim radiallahu. She used to read the whole Quran through every 7 days. The level that Sayda Ya Fatima is on is, I don't even know if it could be mentioned or if it could be fathomed. that what she's done, how she served humanity, how she served her father, her husband, her sons, because she served them all as her sheikhs.
Mhm.
This is Yafatu. What could we say about everybody would have something to say about Yafatu. As I said about the other sisters, the other people, all the people that came before us and that are there now. The amount of ibadah that they do, the work they do for Allah, we only know what we see, what's on the surface. You may have had a glimpse of it. They have big stacks that stacked there waiting for them with Allah.
Mm.
That's all I can say. It's too much. All we can do is pray Allah that we can have a little bit of a small little slice of what they may have done, that Allah gives us the barakat of being able to do that, just a little bit that'll kind of nudge us over so we get to be with them, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, could you, I have a 2-level question, and alhamdulillah, I know it'll be a beautiful answer on both. I'd like for you to tell us the first meeting you had with Shaykh Hassan in America, and what was your impression, and then the first meeting that you had within him in Senegal, and what was your impression?
Okay, so I have to really start with the story of how we realized that he had been to our house early, because we did not realize it. In the mid-90s, Imam Salim was in Senegal with Brother Mahmoud Salam. And they ran into their old friend Kofi Abdul Karim.
Yeah.
And Kofi Abdul Karim was very shocked to see Imam Salim there. And he said, "You're here? You're in the Tariqa?" And he said, he was laughing, him and Mahmoud were laughing. And he said, when I brought Shaykh Hassan to your house that time when your children were little, he said, he asked me, is he with us? Is he in the Tariqa? And I said, oh no, this man he don't follow nobody. And Imam Salim said, well, wait a minute. Shaykh Hassan has never been to my house. So he began to tell him about the visit and what happened, and he started to remember. But he said, he told him, he said, no, I brought him in, I introduced him, you told him to have a seat over there on the floor, and the children came in and looked at him, and your wife came in off the tea, and so he started to remember, you were sitting at your drafting table, and da-da-da. So he went to Shaykh Hassan, and he asked Shaykh Hassan to verify, he was remembering it. And Shaykh Hassan said, yes, we came in, and Yusuf and Ansar were little, and they came out, and
Allahumma salli ala sayyidina. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina.
and Sister Karimah offered us tea, and Imam Salim said he dropped his head, and he said, so it's okay. So we started to remember. So then I'll tell you about the first time. He came to our house around 1976, I believe. And that's what happened. He came with Kofi Abdul Karim, who was a friend of ours. He's a Ghanaian brother, originally from New York, and came by way of Chicago. I think he may have met Sheikh through Sheikh Alton Dempson, because Sheikh Alton Dempson kind of took him into their community in New York. So he brought him and was introducing him to the brothers in Detroit. But Imam Salim was the only one that was home. And so after, when they were about to leave, he said, his father is a sheikh, and his grandfather was a sheikh. And Imam Salim looked at him and he said, your father is a sheikh? He said, yes. He said, will you ask him to pray for my children? And Sheikh Hassan said, yes, we're going to speak with him when we leave here, we'll ask him. So that's just, to think about that here is, we didn't know we were his students. He probably knew we were his students, and we didn't know it. And here he is asking Sheikh Saidi Ali Cisse to pray for our children. We didn't even know who that was. But when the time that we remember, I remember seeing, like really being, waiting for Sheikh to come, was at Sister Rakiba and Brother Mahmoud's house. in I think it was 1985. Sheikh came from Chicago with the brothers, and I had gone there to help her prepare. So when Sheikh came in, we greeted him, and we were just so thrilled. I can't even describe it. We were acting like schoolgirls because we just didn't know what to do. We were just giggling and smiling, and Salam Alaikum, and Sheikh thought it was so amusing. So that was our first encounter. And you know, with Shaykh Hassan, you know, you just love him. You just love, it's just, you just love him. He if you want to know, if you want to, if you study the seerah of the Prophet and you know Shaykh Hassan, you can visualize everything in the seerah because you saw it in Shaykh Hassan. His character, the way that he dealt with all types of people. He put out so much love, even when, you know, as Americans, if people disrespect the Sheikh, you know, we have a tendency to get upset. Sheikh Hassan would look at us and have us quiet us down. And the next thing you know, that same person that came in with being disrespectful had fell in love with Sheikh Hassan. We know how he handled things. And Sheikh Hassan, like Sister Rakiba said, when you were with him, you would be in a state where nothing else mattered except to be in a state where he was happy with you. And he was going to be happy with you. Like one brother said, if Allah is pleased with you, Sheikh Hassan's going to be pleased with you. So don't worry. Sheikh Hassan, everything that he did, it was so close. It was, you just could see it was just the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You just were seeing it was coming alive for you. So you don't have to imagine what it was like to be around the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because you got that with Sheikh Hassan. That's what you had with him.
Wallahi. Well, alhamdulillah, and wallahi, you're bringing so many things to mind. For some of those people who may not have known when she was talking about Ya Fatima to Zahra and her feet bleeding, there's a beautiful story that Sheikh Hassan used to tell us when he would question his mother when she was young, and she would say she would go get the food and such and such. And she said she would have to go. There was no market in Medina area. She had to walk all the way into Kaulak. And for those who've been in the synagogue, you know that's a little ways. And she would have to go back and forth a few times sometime, especially for lunch and dinner. And she said at times her feet would be hurting and bleeding. And Sheikh Hassan, as a young child, was like, yeah. He was like, Mom, why were your feet bleeding? Where were your shoes? And she was like, hi. She was like, huh? Shoes? Who had shoes? Who had money for shoes? But it shows the her adab and her work for her family, for her father, and as such. And another beautiful story we know of, they said during the time of Mawlid and Ziyarah and these great days, she would get money together and go to Sayyidi Hassan Cisse just like a student and give him money and ask him to make dua for her children.
Yes.
So look at this adab right here too. She took him as her husband and as her sheikh. Sheikh Hassan used to tell us there are three people who they should be very careful. He said the wife who is married to a sheikh, who just considers him a husband and not her sheikh. The child who has a father who's a sheikh, and he just considers him a father and not just a sheikh. And the one that's the most dangerous, or the student, the talib, who has become so beloved with this sheikh that he just takes him as a friend and not just his sheikh.
Absolutely.
So we just thankful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be careful with these things.
I
I'd also like you, because we knew Imam Salim. Imam Salim, you had to earn your dues with him. You didn't just get in. Just like you like Sheikh Tijani Cisse, you got to earn your dues. But even with that early study of Shaykh Hassan, it reminds me of Ruhul Adab when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says that Shaykh Ibrahim Nias says, when you lower yourself, Allah will raise you. And if you raise yourself, Allah will lower you. At that time when Shaykh Hassan met him, even at that time, and he didn't realize it was nothing for him to sit on the floor. That's how they did at home. But he could see within us these things from afar, and he could see that love that Imam Salim had in him. So I'd like to ask you, could you tell us a little bit about the love that Imam Salim had for Shaykh Hassan Cisse?
I'll put it this way. Anything that Shaykh wanted done, Imam Salim was going to make sure that happened.
Wallahi.
And with me as his wife, if Shaykh Hassan said, I remember once we called Shaykh Hassan to greet him on a Wednesday. And he, we greeted everything. And he said, Dr. Karimah, your guest will be here on Friday. I said, this Friday, Shaykh? Yes, on Juma. I said, so I should come? He said, yes, you should come. Asked him to make dua. I always ask Shaykh, please make dua for us. And he made a very beautiful dua. And as soon as I got off the phone, Imam Salim handed me the phone and said, well, you need to make your arrangements to go to synagogue. But he loved Shaykh. You couldn't help but love Shaykh Hassan.
Wallahi.
When I really don't want to talk about some of the things, but he would do so much work for the family, the community, and for the sheikhs. He did so much dhikr for them. It's just, I can't even fathom how he did all that dhikr. But that was by a blessing of Allah. Allah gave him that to do. But Shaykh Hassan, I just want to talk about Shaykh Hassan. Shaykh Hassan, the way that he taught us by example. He taught us by actually, telling us things, teaching us. He taught us by giving us ibadah to do. That was our training, our lessons. He didn't need us. That was only by Allah's mercy. And he saw, this is the medicine you need. So you're gonna do this. This is the medicine. I laugh. I tell the story about there and work in his clinic or be anybody else. He had doctors all over the world. I remember it was one holiday, I think it was during Maulid time, and we were all upstairs on the roof, and after dinner people were talking and everything. And Shaykh Hassan looked up, he said, "Doctor," and about 15 other people said, "Yes, Shaykh." Shaykh Hassan could have called on anyone from anywhere. This is just part of our training. He didn't need us. Allah was going to give him everything. He said, he told Sheikh Jerry, he told him how it was a blessing for him to participate in his work. He said, and because Allah is he's going to make sure I complete my mission regardless of whether you help me or not. So for us to be his students and to actually participate in his work, that's such a big, it's just a magnificent blessing from Allah. It has nothing to do with us, who are we? Who are we little Americans coming over to Medina and being able to sit with Shaykh Hassan when he's got millions of followers around the world, millions of people who never saw him in person. He's got millions of followers. where people used to faint because they heard that his car passed by, because there would be millions of people out there waiting for him. And they heard his car pass by. I remember one brother traveled to Nigeria, and they said that people were fainting on the way to the masjid. He were fainting in the street because they heard the car pass by. They couldn't even see the car.
Mm.
And who are we? It's only by Allah's mercy that Allah gave us that. To be his student, his personal student, I don't know what to say. It's amazing. Allah's plan is exquisitely beautiful. This path is a beautiful path, and he gave us Islam. He gave us our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He gave us our book, and he gave us a consummate sheikh. Not just one, three. Three. Who are we not to be grateful to Allah? When the Prophet himself used to ask for forgiveness 70 times a day and used to pray until his legs swelled. His wife said, why do you do this? You've already been forgiven. Why you stay up all night? You pray and your legs swell. He said, to show gratefulness to Allah. So who are we?
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah. We just should just be grateful to Allah. Grateful to Allah. Allah, this is not the norm.
Wallahi.
This is not the norm. And for all those people who didn't know Shaykh Hassan, and now you have Shaykh Mahi and you have Imam Sheikh, take advantage of that. It's not the norm to know these people and for them to know you. It's not normal. They have millions of followers. So take advantage of that. Whatever you can do, help however you can. Help in your local community, help your family, make sure they're learning to read Quran, make sure they're making their salats, help your neighbors, help your community to do whatever they have to do. There's a lot of projects that sheikhs have. You know, you can find it on all of these groups. The different groups are doing different projects. You know, try to participate in that. Every little bit helps. If you send $5 and they needed $1 million, you are getting that blessing for that whole $1 million for sending that $5. So try to do whatever you can do to help. If you can't send money, pray for them. Read Quran for them. If you can't send money, help brothers and sisters in need. Shaykh Hassan said, and this is that's also from the Quran, that you should feed the hungry, heal the sick, shelter the homeless, clothe the naked, and reach out your hand to the man dust. This was Shaykh Hassan.
Wallahi. Could you say that again? You broke up a little. Please say that again for us.
Well, I was just saying that it's in the Quran that Shaykh Hassan used to say that you should feed the hungry, heal the sick, shelter the homeless, clothe the naked, and reach out your hand to the man down in the dust. That's Shaykh Hassan, and that was his life. Once one man from the UN, he told Shaykh Hassan, he said, you know, we have people that, you know, they say they have health clinics. They say that they, you know, have water projects. They say that they have education. They say that they do this and that. He said, but you do all of it, and you really do all of it. This was Shaykh Hassan, and this was his education of us was the ibadah that he gave us. And he could also, just being in his presence, he was teaching you. He could pour that understanding into you.
Yes, on me. And also, there's I know in my travel and khidmat to the Shaykh, and Shaykh keeping me there for those years. Astaghfirullah, some people thought I was just stand over there just to eat lunch and sit around in the heat, and get malaria. But
being cultural.
and you know the many times, even Imam Salim, I remember him telling you when he had asked the third time and Shaykh Hassan denied him, he said he wasn't going to ask anymore. But
Yeah.
speaking of that, and my father, who wasn't even Muslim, permitting that, I wanted to ask you, how did you feel, and like, what was the state that you were in the day that you left your young son Hassan with Shaykh Hassan? And was he 5 when Shaykh Hassan asked him? How old was he?
He was 5.5. He was a year. He turned 6 that year. We were here in the summer for a few months, and Sheikh Hassan asked him. He had his arm around Hassan. Used to love going to the daughter, hang out there. So I think Sheikh had put him in the school, the Sheikh Mahi, Aisha Mahi school, Sayyidah Aisha Mahi school, and so Sheikh asked Hassan. He came in and greeted him, and he put his arm around his shoulder, and he said, "Do you want to?" He said, "Do you want to stay here with us?" And Hassan said, "Yes." And I said, "You want to keep him, Sheikh?" He said, "Yes, we want to keep him." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll, let me call Imam Salim and let him know." And I knew it was just letting him know, not just getting permission, but it was getting permission, but I knew he'd say yes. So Sheikh Hassan let me use his phone, and I called Imam Salim, and he said, "How long does he want to keep?" I said, I said, "No." So he spoke to Sheikh Hassan, and it was a done deal. So Hassan was here, and you know how long he was here, probably better than me, I think, but 5 years, 6 years before he left, before he went back to the States, and then he was there for a year, and then he came back. And I can tell you, he went to the States and came back twice. And when he was young. And each time we would call and get permission from Sheikh Hassan. And Sheikh Hassan would give permission and make dua, and he would say, "Thank you." He would say, "Thank you." It was very big that the Americans were bringing their children, leaving their children. That was very, very big to Sheikh Hassan.
Alhamdulillah. And with your years of work, I remember that time we had to get the clinic together for was it the doctors? How many doctors had come? Sheikh Hassan, his greatest miracle was making us do things overnight. Because if he said it, it had to get done.
If he said it, you knew it could be done. That's why he told you to do it. You knew you'd be able to do it. You just needed his do it. Now, he called us on Wednesday. He was in Dakar, and he called and he said, "AmeriCare is coming on Friday, on Juma." He said, "We're going to have there were so many doctors coming. I think the health department was sending these doctors and some doctors and nurses." And he said, and we've been having it. It's been announced at the masjids and on the radio. On Juma, this Juma Sheikh, yes, Sheikh, make dua for us, please. And so, alhamdulillah, Sister Aisha was there. And also, that was the time when we were trying to finish the second part of the clinic. Because remember when I came and Sheikh had asked us to work on that. So it was almost done.
We had to paint and everything.
Yes, it was almost completely done. And so, yeah, Juma, and the Department of Health said we saw over 1,700 people that day. Yeah. But there was we were running the clinic. Some of the students, some of the doctors from the Department of Health had a van, and they had medicine, and they were out at Kosi. So they ran a clinic out there, and
Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina.
America was very, very impressed. Sister Aisha, I don't remember if I was with her or not, but they said, you know, you're the most organized. I think what they were saying is that usually they send medicine, and once the medicine is done, then it's done. They close. There's no clinic sitting there, but we actually had a clinic. We had their medicine on the shelves in the pharmacy that they donated. And they told Sister Aisha, they said, you're the most organized uh, group that we work with. And she and I looked at each other and started laughing. It's like, this is all Shaykh Hassan, because it looked like everything had been planned for a year. The way it would turn out when Shaykh wanted you to do something, it looked like you had been planning it for a year. We had 2 days. And alhamdulillah, as a matter of fact, I wish I had sent you the picture of that Shaykh Hassan gave me from that day. He was very, very happy. And, Sister Aisha, she brought in, made the connection with Amir Cares for Shaykh Hassan. And, they would send tons of medication and medical supplies. And that was the first time they had come. 7 years they had been donating. That was the first time they had come, and they were very, very happy, very happy. The medicine was up, everything was distributed. Sheikh made sure the Department of Health came in with trucks to get their stuff, and it was distributed all over Senegal. And Shifa al-Islam at that time had 22 satellite clinics, and they would come in to get the supplies and medicine. But that day, yes, it was. We called it the day of the big clinic.
Yeah. Wallahi. Woo. Well, the miracles we had to do in those few days. Oh my goodness.
That was all by the barakat of the Sheikh. It was all by the barakat.
Wallahi.
All by it. And Shaykh Hassan would say everything that was all from Shaykh Ibrahim. He said that clinic was a dua of Shaykh Ibrahim.
Wallahi. Wallahi. It's in this one, Shifa al-Asqam, the heal of our ailments. And so with that and working with them, and you working with the clinic and the doctors and everything, many people hear about it, but could you speak a bit about what you saw with Shaykh Hassan's humanitarian efforts?
Shaykh Hassan, he helped us. Not only did he have Shifa al-Islam, but as I said, there were 22 satellite clinics. And when I say clinics, I'm saying there were like small rural areas that he would help them get supplies like beds and things like that. He was always working to help in medicine, in the medical area, not only in Senegal, but other countries too. Sheikh also had a water reclamation program where they were digging wells, distributing food. We can't even fathom how much food that Sheikh and his family have provided for people, and how much food students have provided, and how much, how many people he fed. I've never seen Sheikh just sit down and eat by himself. So he was feeding people. Shaykh Hassan was he was the head of so many Islamic organizations. They always wanted Shaykh Hassan to be the head of that. Everybody could see that light of the Prophet on him. Wallahi. So when he would go to these meetings, they'd invite him. He was always the one they wanted to make the head of the organization. Sister Aisha could speak more to it. She traveled with Sheikh. She and Dr. Khadija Awalu gave a very excellent talk. Sister Shaki, because she was a lot of times coordinating these things, Shaykh Hassan. But Shaykh Hassan, he was involved in so many things. You can see it with what you see with Sheikh Mahi and Imam Sheikh. With Sheikh Mahi going and mediating for the people in the Sudan. They unite. He was there. He and the Khalifa united 50 tribes who've been warring for decades. And Sheikh Mahi. This is what
الله وبهم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد اللهم
thing
صل
Sheikh
على
Hassan.
سيدنا محمد. Okay.
People who I can't even tell you how smack you about the line. He would check. He would check that immediately. Can't tell you how he came to Sheikh Hassan and fell in love with him. Who came there to argue with him? But Sheikh Hassan did. He showed us the way. And you saw Sheikh. Someone would give Sheikh an envelope full of money that he didn't even look to see how much. He would put it in his booba, take it outside, and hand it to somebody who was asking for sadaqah. This is Sheikh Hassan. It's hard to say all of his humanitarian work. Everything that I said that he talked about, feeding the hungry, sheltering people. When he built the school, he specifically built it with rooms where the students could sleep that didn't have a place to sleep because they used to sleep in the street. And I will say this about Sheikh too. He taught us to be patient with each other, and he showed us how not to be arrogant and think that you are better than someone else. Because that person that and said, this person is crazy. What are they doing here? Or, oh, what is wrong with this person? Or I can't deal with this person. Sheikh Hassan work with that person, and the next thing you know, they are on a higher maqam than you. Because
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد
has helped them and gave them the medicine they needed in Nigeria, and taught people about HIV and AIDS to stop the AIDS epidemic in West Africa. He was a person of his time. He was modern. He was a person of his time.
Alhamdulillah, you went out for a second, but I remember when he had the conference on AIDS, I remember him speaking, maybe he told you of it. He said there was a European woman who had come to him and gave the statistics of AIDS and HIV in Africa. And she said, as a matter of fact, all the countries that had polygyny in it or practice within their culture, they had lower rates of it, of the AIDS, because they were at least trying to take care of both of their families. And I remember Shaykh Hassan saying, oh, yes, ma'am, can you please give me those statistics I can use in my talk? They were like, no, the women are going to want these statistics right here. And I think he used it in a conference, but I remember that conference on AIDS, and also his advocacy for women. People don't know about in the bush, he even did, the lettering in the Wolof language, so they could learn how to write in Wolof. I remember that and some of the other things. But he also, remember he did a conference on female mutilation and things like that. So Sheikh Hassan was
mutilation, which was banned in Senegal because of Sheikh Hassan. And Sheikh Hassan fought for the women in different countries. Senegal, yes.
So now that we've gotten through all of that, and we'd like for you to speak a little bit about Fani, like yourself, especially with your work at the Shifa al-Asqam. Alhamdulillah, with the beautiful works, with the clinics and things you work with and your own practice here in America. What did you see from your work at the Shifa al-Asqam? And we may know, but what are your reasons? Why did you take it to heart so wholeheartedly? come when Shaykh Hassan wanted you to come and practice and help the people and things like that?
Well, when I originally decided that I wanted to be a physician, I wanted to be a physician to help people. And I specifically wanted to come to Africa because at that time there was famine going on, different parts of Africa and all of that. But I have to say that going back, one of the people that inspired me to become a doctor was Dr. Khadija.
Alhamdulillah.
She didn't know it. I read an article in a Muslim journal about this young African-American mother who was a doctor, who was taking care of people in West End, Atlanta. And they had a picture of her, and she's like, they showed her this out to my house. She would go to house to take care of people, and taking care of people.
Alhamdulillah.
She had on her hijab. And I was like, wow. I was interested in becoming a doctor. Second year I came in 1990, met Dr. Khadija, and I was so thrilled to meet her. And she took me under her wing right away. As soon as she heard I was in med school, she took me, let's go, we're gonna go deliver this baby. She had already started seeing people. Let's go deliver this baby. And we went, and the baby was already out. So she was saying the midwife to deliver. So she checked the baby. And then, from there, she would, take me with her to see people and all of that. And just seeing how she worked, how hard she worked.
Wallah.
And this is what I want to do. What you hear about Dr. Khadija is very on the surface. They don't tell you about her coming out of her house in the middle of the night to go see people 45 minutes, 60 minutes away in the middle of the night because the babies are sick. That was in Atlanta. They don't tell you about her. She ran clinic in her bedroom in Medina after she had been working at the clinic all day. People were bringing sick babies to her room.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that she did you're not gonna hear everything that she did. In Atlanta at her clinic there, I'm just telling you these things because these things inspired me to work, to do the best that I could. She inspired people to do their best. And at her clinic in Atlanta, in Monroe, if a sick child came in, her policy was, you don't ask for money, you don't ask for insurance, take the child back and take care of them. If one of her patients needed to see a specialist in Atlanta and they couldn't get there, she drove them to the appointment. If they had lice in their house and it was affecting their television, she did it. She did these things. So to see people at this level of work, the level of work that she did, the level of work that Sister Shakti did, the level of work that Sister Aisha did, work that Sister did, Haji Karimah, and Sister Usulama, we can't forget. She gave up, she just dropped everything and came and did her midwifery. She was the first African American to graduate from the nurse midwife program at Emory University. She's written chapters in the midwifery handbook. She's still delivering children and teaching and has helped people all over the world. When you see this level of person, you can't help but try to push yourself to do the best that you can. And on the top of that, the way that our Sheikh gave everything. How many times was he working and seeing people and going to the mosque when he was sick?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're around people that are on that level, you want to strive to try to get at least a little bit close to that level, inshallah.
Well, alhamdulillah, Umi. And just for me, so the people get a few other questions in. I wanted to say that you all were great, especially people like you, Sham Tijani Favors, Imam Salim, and as such, you were great. inspirations for me for Khidmah. You know, in America, you usually work for yourself, but they try to make you a simp, you know, if you're working for somebody else or doing something for someone. But to see you all doing the Khidmah for the Sheikh and the honor in serving the Sheikh or serving his processes, what were some of the types of Khidmah that you loved doing for Shaykh Hassan the most? And could you advise all of us who are on the path of Khidmah of some things that we can do to be better students?
Well, I would say that just anything that that Sheikh, that we, it wasn't always what Sheikh asked. You know, it's things that you saw that needed to be done, you just did it. Just the fact of being able to do Khidmah for Sheikh was a joy. And once Sheikh Hassan told us once, he said, a friend does not need to ask another friend for help.
Mm.
So that stuck with me. It stuck with us who were there. So if you needed, if you saw a need, do it. If you would see, I can't even tell you how many times I saw the people around Sheikh who were doing Khidmah just look and see, well, do you want to go here and do this? Or, I've got to go here and do this, but Sheikh Hassan needed a so and so and such, but he didn't ask for it, but he needed it. It's something something that he needed or something, and somebody's going to take care of it. This is what they did. This is, you just did it. So I can't say anything in particular. I was just very grateful and still am very grateful to have had a minor part of being able to participate in his work. And I'm very, very grateful for that, for any little part that I had. Now, as far as for anyone else, as I said, whatever you can do in your sphere, do that and be grateful and be happy for other people doing what they're doing. Everybody's not going to do the same thing. That's why Allah said he has a goal. Each of you has a goal to which he turns you. So you have something in your heart that you want to do that's good to it. Shaykh Hassan used to say, if you see a person that needs help, help them. It may be your Khidmah might be teaching your children Quran. Instilling the love of Quran in your children. Instilling the love of the Deen in your children. It may be volunteering at your mosque. So if you're doing Khidmah, if you get into the habit of Khidmah, Khidmah for your husband, Khidmah for your family, your wife, your children. If you get in the habit of Khidmah and the habit of having good idab, and Allah opens that for you to do Khidmah for the Sheikh, then you are familiar with that. And it could be anything. People are, there are some people who you're going to see traveling with the Sheikhs, and you'll see them in the pictures. And I'm not saying that they're doing it so they can be in the pictures. I'm saying that's what their spirit is. That's what Allah has chosen for them to do. You're going to see people who have done all types of wonderful things. I mean, we have so many beautiful people and beautiful young people coming in who are doing so many wonderful things, so many projects, and helping the Sheikh with so many things. But you have something you can do, even if you say, I don't have money to send, or I can't go to synagogue. If I go, I can only stay a week because I have to work. I have my kids at home. But what can you do? Maybe someone else, some other child is studying here. Seda Cooper is taking care of the American children. Seda Kubra has the school, the dormitory. She's doing all kind of programs. There's so many things Seda Kubra is doing, and she's raising kids. How many children has she raised? We don't know. How much charity? We don't know. But if help her, if you can send, just a little bit, or make dua for her. Remember her. Make sure you make dua for her after every salah. You want to help with the khidmah? Make dua for her. Make dua for Sheikh Mahi. Make dua for Imam Sheikh. Make dua for Allah to give them good health and long life and give them everything they need to complete their mission in the manner that's most pleasing to Him. Make dua for them. If all you can do is make dua, sometimes that person whose name you will never know, Allah is answering their duas. And that may be you. It can't be you. So from the smallest to the largest, if you only have $1 and you give 25 cents, you have given a lot. If you have $1 million and you give 1,000, you give, but that person gave that 25 cents. You can worry about people doing this and doing that. Don't think that you're a sphere, and be happy when you see other people doing khidmah. Be happy for them and be generous with your expertise and whatever help and advice you can give them. Be happy for them. Be envious. Always remember, Allah said all of you have a goal to which He turns. Everybody has it. It's not going to be the same thing that I have or that you have, but it's your own.
Alhamdulillah. Well, Umi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Alhamdulillah. So I've gotten off a few good questions off, but I know there are many people who are amongst us and with us today. Is there anybody who had a question or something that they'd like to submit? Then please feel free to. Salaam awulu. Kana lafiya.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, Madam Awulu. Kana lafiya.
Dr. Karimah.
Alhamdulillah.
Lafiya. Dr. Karimah, thank you very much for this wonderful talk.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.
I'm so happy to hear from you and to see your face.
Ameen.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. I have two things. One is a short story. Talking about Imam Salim of blessed memory. May Allah be pleased with him.
Ameen.
You remember the day when Shaykh Hassan was given that ambassador of health of children, I think, in Dakar. You remember? Yes. So that day, Imam Salim did something that I always remember. The wow. Americans are coming back to Medina in a big bus, but the bus had a problem. It wasn't moving properly. It has a problem. But Imam Salim said, since this was the bus that was given to us by Sheikh, we are not going to go for any other vehicle. So he stick to that bus, even though it was having problem on the way. So I could always remember that. Some people went to inside the car and took commercial bus and commercial cars to go to Medina. That was given to me by Sheikh. Allahu Akbar. So my question is, I was following the Wikipedia article on Shaykh Hassan yesterday, and I went to the back page, to the history page, where I wanted to see who was writing the article and who was editing, because I want to see if there are ways to improve it. So somebody was asking about the HIV of Shaykh Hassan. So when you talk about HIV, it's HIV AIDS program, and I think Kapani was even talking about HIV conference. I need you to expatiate on that, please. Tell us something more about the HIV program of Shaykh Hassan.
Well, Shaykh Hassan was asked, the one that I know of, well, he actually was asked to speak on it, I think, several times, but I believe it was the last conference we went to in Gambia, in, I think it was 2005.
2005.
I think it was the Gambia conference. And by that time, it was the conference in Gambia with Shaykh Hassan was the second biggest event in Gambia, next to their independent state. So he was intending to speak about Sufism and Islam, but his friend, he always would say, my friends from the World Health Organization called and asked him if he would speak about HIV/AIDS.
Yes.
So he asked us, you know, he always had several people that he was collecting information from because he wanted to be knowledgeable about his topic. And so he collected the information and he asked me to speak that. Now, me, I'm not a public speaker. I remember Sister Aisha coming to me and saying, well, you know, Sheikh may want you to speak this year. I said, no. I said, I don't do that. That's you and Imam Salim, you speak at the conference. I said, he's not going to ask. So for sure, when I went to him, he told me what he was going to do. And he said, I want you to, you know, speak. So I asked him to make dua. And that's a big thing. Whenever your Sheikh asks you to do something, ask him to make dua for you in that process. But so at any rate, I believe it was 2005. So Sheikh Hassan, of course, he would always tie everything in with Islam. And then when he finished his part, the speech, he said, this is a two-part speech. And so I spoke about HIV/AIDS, the facts and its prevention, how it spreads and its prevention. Kafani was there. He was actually taking my papers as I, or handing me papers. I can't remember if he was there.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Shaykh Hassan, he had the facts too. People don't realize he really studied anything that he did.
Yes, he absolutely got the facts down. And so people were very happy with that conference. And I think that the WHO was very happy with, because, you know, because of who Sheikh was, when he would address a particular subject, people listened and they put that into action. Because rather than moving on ignorance, then they could move on facts. And Sheikh Hassan would present the facts. As he said, and as Sheikh Ibrahim said, a Sufi is a man of his time. And Sheikh Hassan for sure was a man of his time.
Wallahi.
But I would say, I would say that most likely Sister Shaki and Sister Aisha would know more about his all of the programs that he may have been involved in for that.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me, Omi?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, inshallah, Jamaat, is there anyone else who'd like to ask questions to the Omi, Haja Dr. Karimah Joseph? I'd like to thank you personally for all the help you gave me there in those years, you know, and also my brother Ansar, you know, if, you know, whatever you sent with me, would like Ansar would give me half. If it was a candy bar, he probably would have given me the half of it. So he was truly an Ansar for me. And I'm thanking you all for encouraging me, especially Imam Salim, radiallahu anhu, and others when I I felt down the most because, you know, it wasn't always easy for me. But is there anyone else on the post who would like to ask a question? Before we let our Umi go, anyone else? One thing I would like to mention with the beautiful of the lineage of your family is that, alhamdulillah, the first American to be born there was, alhamdulillah, our dear nephew, Hamza Joseph. And then look at the blessing of even your daughter Salwa, your granddaughter Salwa, being born in Senegal. We were there. And your family is a very beautiful example and embodiment of the Sunnah with the marriage of your daughter Taslim to Imam Saeed Abdus Salam's daughter, and also with the marriage of your dear son Hassan to the granddaughter of Sayyid Abdulazim Shabazz. And alhamdulillah, that within our community, that with the love and intermarriage is fortified us. So inshallah, this is a reminder for this all. So we don't want to keep Omi too long, you all. Is there anyone else who has a question? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
People are giving their salams. Anyone else?
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'd like to send my salams to everyone. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, look, we benefited from your lesson. Alhamdulillah. We benefited from your talk the other day. Alhamdulillah. Wallahi.
It was excellent. Alhamdulillah.
So inshallah.
I can't hear you.
I said we benefited from your talk the other day.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah,
this interaction is very important. Everyone should be, even you. I was listening to your own, and I can't help to get gems out of it. I want someday you talk to Aisha too. You talk to Ashaki, everyone. You'll be able to benefit from everyone else, inshallah.
I mean, wallahi.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Even Sheikh Jerry himself. I think you need to interview Sheikh Jerry as well.
Wallahi. I think they have, but they're going to do it. We have a few more going. Alhamdulillah, Shaykh Hassan had an ocean. This is the Faida, and Shaykh Hassan had an ocean of students. So
wallahi,
now we're getting it little by little. Wallahi.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's how you know how great Shaykh Hassan was.
Wallahi,
he was an ocean full of knowledge, and we have an ocean full of stories about things that we got from him.
Exactly. It's a blessing. Dr. Karimah said it all. It's a great benefit. It's a great mercy to Allah that we are part of his work. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, Juma, going once, going twice. Any other questions before we go?
Imam Kapani.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm new to this tariqah, but every time I listen to these stories about Shaykh Hassan, I see his light in each one of you. SubhanAllah, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. May Allah continue and perpetuate his blessings on all of you. Thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Ameen. Alhamdulillah, may Allah continue and raise and to bless you all in all that you do. Are there any questions or comments before we go, Juma? So inshallah, if we don't have any other questions, thank you all for waking up on an early morning on Sunday. It wasn't church, but we took y'all to church in remembrance of our dear Sheikh, in remembrance of our dear Dr. Karimah. One of the things that I wanted to pull forward was that Shaykh Hassan, he was a stern advocate for women. He was a stern advocate for them having their rights. And he was a stern advocate for showing that women can be at the helm of things and help and guide and to teach. And he put many of the greater responsibilities in our community on the shoulders of women. That's why we're thankful for women like Dr. Khadija. We're thankful for women for women like Haji Dr. Karimah Joseph, and for women like Haji Aisha Jeffries, and like women like Haji Aisha Hadi. We're thankful for all of the women in our community who helped to fortify, especially with the likes of, just as I spoke of Shak and that, and also you were telling me about, and Salwa from the past. We're thankful for the elders in our community, the men and the women, the living and the dead. And we're happy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us such a beautiful guide. You know, when I came into Islam, the person who brought me to Islam was named Hassan. And when I came into this Tariqa and to truly understand, my Sheikh's name was Hassan. So everything for me is Hassan. It's just good, and I feel good, and I'm thankful for that. So inshallah, with your pleasure and your blessing, I know you might deny it, but could you please close us in prayer? Inshallah. And the reason for it, no, not Tariqa anything, you know, I'll tell you why too. I often go to gatherings with the cultural community. And when the elder is there, they ask the elder, can they speak? And then at the end, they give an honor to the women. And that honor is to make prayer or to make dua for the community. So with your honorable stature and with your love for Allah and His Prophet, could you please close us in dua, inshallah. And thank you for being one of my teachers on the path. You're a Sheikh Haji Dr. Karimah to me, because, you know, we've been through a lot together, you know, especially them light nights, talking about Allah and the Prophet. So inshallah, could you close us with dua?
Oh, have mercy upon us, forgive us. Keep us on the straight path and do not let us stray outside of us, right? Oh, grant that we not die until thou art pleased with us. Grant that we may be with those who die in this life and
so thank you all for, I forgot to even mention, for students of Shaykh Hassan, one of my Ruhuladah. We're thankful. I'm thankful for all the comments, all of those who are present. Let's continue to do this. Let's continue to encourage each other in the remembrance of Allah, by the remembrance of the beloved, the remembrance of the beloved, and the remembrance of the beloved Shaykh Hassan Cisse, radiallahu anhu. We're thankful to have him. We're thankful to have Imam Shaykh Tijani Cisse and our beautiful Shaykh Mahi Cisse as remembrance and mirrors of them. Alhamdulillah, that we have mirrors such as that, and alhamdulillah that we have groups like that, and alhamdulillah that we have sisters like and mothers like Dr. Karimah, alhamdulillah that we have fathers and brothers like Imam Salim Joseph and Imam Sayyid Abdul Salam, and on, inshallah, ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum, Jama'ah. And remember, we're preparing ourselves for Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, everyone. Happy to hear from you all. Alhamdulillah.
Ameen.
Muhammad Ali and Fatima.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Kafani, for hosting. Alhamdulillah. And Sister
Amatullah, are you
Karimah.
there? Long time. I have not heard.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala. Ameen.
Okay, Shaykh Hassan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, I'm going to call back.
Inshallah.
I'm going to call you back.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.